This is Keith Sanchez from the Draft Network, here to bring you the top 5 guys that I've seen in the trenches from day one of practice at the Reese Senior Bowl. The first guy I want to bring you is offensive lineman from Boston College, Zion Johnson. This guy, position for position, pound for pound, probably had the best day out of any prospect at the Senior Bowl of day one. This guy took on defensive linemen from 275 pounds to 375 pounds, and he really held his own. This was an intense guy. This was a guy that not only hyped himself up, but he hyped his teammates up. So you know that I really appreciate that in offensive linemen. My favorite thing about offensive linemen is like, hey, are they scrappy? And this guy is scrappy. He's a tone setter, he's physical, and he doesn't take stuff from anybody. So I was surprisingly impressed with this guy, and while it isn't the most sexy pick, Zion Johnson deserves it for the #1 guy that I seen in the trenches today. The next guy is edge defender from Florida State, Jermaine Johnson. And all I could say was, wow, this guy came into the Senior Bowl with a lot of question marks. We all know his background. This guy was a JUCO guy who initially transferred to Georgia and then transferred to Florida State. So there were a lot of questions of why was this the case? And I think that a lot of scouts and guys like myself wanted to see, hey, is this guy going to rise to the occasion and answer all of those questions? And this guy answered all of those questions. This guy came in at 6'4", 260. So physically he looked the part, and athletically he played the part. This guy has first step explosiveness. He's really able to bend the edge, and this guy really is able to convert speed to power. And there is a rep of him taking one of the biggest offensive linemen in this year's Senior Bowl, Darren Carter, and just flat putting him on his back. So I was extremely excited about this guy. And while he may have been a first-round guy, I think this guy can possibly raise his draft stock throughout the rest of the Senior Bowl into being a top 10 pick. So I'm extremely excited about this guy, and I can't wait to get to practice tomorrow to see how this guy continues to progress. Next up, I want to talk about Cincinnati Bearcat edge defender, Myjai Sanders. Coming into the season, this guy had a first-round draft grade, but as the season went on, this guy's draft stock plummeted, and some guys have him in the 2nd or 3rd round. So this was a really big deal for this guy, and this was a big moment for him, and I like the fact that he showed up. Man, there were questions about if Myjai Sanders can really get off the ball and if he has that first step explosiveness, and he answered those questions. He really came here, and when he was lined up in his track stance, he was really in a loaded stance and ready to go. He really came and he delivered. There was one rep of Myjai Sanders taking the biggest offensive tackle in this year's draft, Daniel Falele, and really taking a spin move and going back inside and then putting this guy on his back. So he was another guy that played with intensity overall, and I think this guy's stock is really up. Next up is Arkansas interior defensive lineman John Ridgeway. This is one of my favorite guys, and he's probably one of the most underrated guys in all of this year's draft. John Ridgeway is a guy that transferred from the FCS level, and due to Arkansas' schedule, he immediately had to run the gamut. Arkansas played one of the fiercest schedules out of anyone. They played Penn State, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, and Ridgeway really showed up. This guy dominated on the interior of the defensive line, and he was really a key piece to why this Arkansas defense really played well. So I was really excited to see this guy in person, and he's also another guy that really showed out. And playing against some of the best competition that college football has to offer, he was once again truly dominant. This guy is heavy in his hands, and he's also a guy that reminds me of Pittsburgh great Cameron Hayward. So if I'm a team that's looking for an interior defensive lineman in the back end of the 1st round or the 2nd round, this may truly be my guy. My last guy is offensive tackle Darren Carter. And I'm going to be honest with you, Darren Carter didn't have the best day, but the reason he made my list because I thought this guy had the most to lose overall. The Senior Bowl is not a setting that's necessarily good for offensive linemen overall, and especially a guy with Darren Carter's deficiencies. So I thought that he was going to get exposed in one-on-one situations, but this guy really showed up and showed out. He just found a way to just get the job done. Like I said, he didn't win every rep, but I don't think he's a guy that really lost himself a lot of money and lost a lot of draft stock. So that's why this player made my top 5. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you think about my top 5 list. And remember to like, subscribe, continue to watch the Draft Network for more Senior Bowl coverage all week long.